Good evening to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our tropical weather outlook for September 18th, 2025. And please note to that notification, we are going over today the latest on Gabrielle, which is a tropical storm right now in the Atlantic, to much opposition, I should say. Lots of people wondering whether or not Gabrielle is even a tropical storm today, but I think it's starting to finally get its act together, as I'll show you with the satellite loop in a little bit. And also, we're going to go over what is going on in the rest of the tropics in the Atlantic and the Pacific. So let's start off here. We're going to get to the Pacific in a little bit, but starting off in the Atlantic right now. Tropical Storm Gabrielle. As of the 5 p.m. advisory, maximum sustained winds at 50 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 1,004 millibars. And this is, again, in my opinion, getting its act together. And I'll show you why in just a little bit. And then we have another wave here in the eastern Atlantic, which just emerged off the coast of Africa. And this is also another area that the National Hurricane Center is highlighting for potential development. But at least from what I've seen on the models, they are not too enthusiastic about development happening in the MDR after Gabrielle. In the Eastern Pacific, we have 96E, which National Hurricane Center still has at a high chance for development, but it seems like it's running out of time. Still has not developed yet, so maybe this might not develop after all, although the National Hurricane Center still gives a 70% chance of development for this to occur in the next 48 hours and 7 days, so I guess the chance is still on the table. So we'll see what happens. And then there's now another area here in the Eastern Pacific, right off the southern southwest coast of Mexico, as a lot of these areas of interest in the Pacific tend to be. And this is at a 10% chance in the next 48 hours, but a 30% chance in the next 7 days. Still low, though, but it looks like there will be something else that will try in the Eastern Pacific, even if 96E fails. So activity remaining somewhat strong there, but obviously the main discussion is Tropical Storm Gabrielle. This is the latest satellite imagery of it, and for most of the day today, Gabrielle was a naked swirl. Absolutely no convection at all. And that got a lot of people wondering, is Gabrielle even a tropical storm, or is it even a tropical cyclone at all? But as you can see here in the latest frames, we've had quite the amount of deep convective bursts occurring over Gabrielle. And I think this is a sign of conditions potentially becoming more favorable for it. It did have to deal again with a lot of dry air and especially wind shear, which you could kind of still tell if you look at the motion of the clouds here. These convective cloud tops kind of getting pushed and shoved off to the northeast here. So there's definitely some wind shear that has affected it. But it is starting to move into lower wind shear, as I'll show you with the map here from the wind shear. This is from the University of Wisconsin. And Gabrielle is roughly right in here. So it's actually now starting to move into the green category of wind shear, meaning that the wind shear is dropping. And as you can see here, that just to the east of it, the wind shear was much higher, and that's what it had to deal with throughout most of the day today. But it's finally going to begin to move into a lower wind shear environment, and will probably help it begin to blossom and strengthen further. And the second part of why I was not able to strengthen, though, before we get to, when it's going to potentially strengthen, another reason why is just look at all the dry air that is surrounding it, especially in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. And it is starting to fight back again. We're having some pretty good convective bursts right now, but again, just look to the west, especially to the northwest here. So much mid-level dry air, and once again, this has been a staple of this season, which is why we have not been able to get much development to occur in the Atlantic at all this year, despite the fact that this year was supposed to be an active hurricane season, and right now we are in the peak of the hurricane season, and up until now, we've not been able to get much of anything to develop, and the one thing that did develop, I guess, was a very weak, disorganized, and almost convectiveless tropical storm. Although, again, maybe that is beginning to change now. But it's still going to have to deal with dry air. But as wind shear dives down, I guess it will be able to fight back against the dry air better. And because of that, this will strengthen. And the National Hurricane Center does actually expect that this will strengthen. In fact, by Sunday afternoon, they have this becoming a hurricane. And the National Hurricane Center, I do believe, does have a peak now for Gabrielle of Category 2 strength as it turns north and then eventually northeast into the open Atlantic. Bermuda should still watch, though. Again, as I said before, Bermuda kind of in the open Atlantic here, and this storm will get close. In fact, it's still several days out. We could still see some track shifts a little bit further back to the west here, and puts Bermuda back in the cone of uncertainty. But obviously now Bermuda is now out of the cone of uncertainty, and I do believe it was in it yesterday. So I guess that is good news for those in Bermuda in terms of us, them getting a direct impact from Gabrielle, but still around 4 days out that this will get close to, at least on the same longitude or within the same kind of area as Bermuda. So 4 or 5 days out is still quite a bit of time for things to change, especially in hurricane tracking world. So I wouldn't say that Bermuda is completely out of the woodworks just yet, but beyond that, going to curve to the north and then eventually to the northeast and remain out in the open Atlantic. And then again, as it does so, it will probably become a decent hurricane. Just to kind of show you, National Hurricane Center indicating that it'll become a hurricane, as well as most major models now of all the model plots here. This is the model intensity guidance from Tropical Tidbits, of course, courtesy of Levi Cowan, as he is the owner and the creator of Tropical Tidbits. So you got to give credit where credit is due. The model intensity guidance forecasting Gabrielle will become a hurricane. Pretty much all of the model plots, except for 3 of the models here, forecasting that this will become a hurricane. And I even see some of the hurricane models in here, like the H-Wharf, the HAFS, or I think this is maybe the AI model. I think this is actually the HAFS. And I also see the GFS in here too. So multiple major models showing this becoming a hurricane, and a lot of them as well also showing potentially decent hurricane strength, maybe Cat 2, and we even have the H-Wharf in here showing Cat 3 intensity. So this definitely will become a decent hurricane, especially once this starts to strengthen. And then finally here, I want to show you on the models, because I want to show you the models in action. And you can see here over the next several days, we'll continue to struggle for a little bit as it still has to deal with a lot of the dry air and wind shear. But eventually, especially once we get towards the end of the weekend, even starting here on Saturday, roughly about 2 or 3 days out from now, you can see here on the GFS, we start seeing Gabrielle begin to concentrate and consolidate quite a bit, and it begins to intensify. And again, by Sunday, and that's when the National Hurricane Center forecasts this to be a hurricane, probably will be one by then, and then it becomes a pretty decent hurricane here, past just to the east of Bermuda, and then eventually, as we head into next week, curves on out to sea into the open Atlantic, and not for us to be concerned about anymore. And then just showing you the European here over the next week, them pretty much showing the same thing. So not dealing with much intensification now, but this probably will intensify over the next several days. And yeah, this is likely going to become our next hurricane here in the Atlantic. And obviously, we'll still have to watch and see whether or not Bermuda might still be in the realm of impacts from this. Because, for the most part, Gabrielle will track out to sea, as you can see here with the GFS I just showed you, and also the European too. But this still does get somewhat close to Bermuda, and again, even if the center does not go over Bermuda, that does not mean that we won't get impacts from this. It'll likely have a decent wind field by the time it gets to Bermuda. I mean, at least if you look on the European, maybe it's not necessarily a super large storm, but still, would not be surprised if we still get some impacts from Gabrielle on Bermuda, even if this does not make a landfall. And obviously, those impacts themselves are still significant, whether regardless of whether or not it is a direct impact. So we'll have to watch for that too here, um, and watch it in general over the next several days as we track Gabrielle. And then finally, I want to show you the ensembles from the European. And I mean, in terms of impacts to Bermuda, all of them do take it east of Bermuda. So again, good news for Bermuda if you guys are not looking forward to a direct impact from Gabrielle. So hopefully that holds up. But eventually you do see here does track to the north. And then beyond that in the Atlantic, still surprising. I mean, I would have thought that something else would, begin to pop up. It's late September when that we're tracking Gabrielle now, and typically in September in general, we start to have a lot more activity here in the MDR. Although I will say, especially once we get towards around the 10-day time frame, you could see that there are some of these ensembles here beginning to show up for development in the Caribbean. And I point that out particularly because some other models, like the Google AI model, although they go out to 15 days, so they go out a little bit longer than the European ensemble run here. And this is from weathernerds.org. This only goes out to 10 days, but Google AI model and some other models are showing that beyond the 10-day time frame, there is something that tries to happen here in the Eastern Gulf coming out of the Caribbean. And let's just say that we've had a trend in recent years where we've had things come late September, something would begin to develop in the Caribbean, and then eventually it would move into the Eastern Gulf. And those scenarios would tend to be pretty powerful hurricanes. And the models that actually show development also shows some pretty intense action. But this is, again, 10 to 15 days out. But it is September after all, and you would expect that something would happen. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, though, right now, main focus being on Gabrielle and how that develops over the next several days. But we'll see if the tropics are gonna heat up beyond Gabrielle. There are some signs that point to it, but also on the other hand, maybe not. We'll see. It's all up in the air. Let's focus right now on Gabrielle, though. But with that being said, I think that's going to be it for today's video. There's not really much else to go over beyond things that we are tracking right now. So I'm gonna end it off for tonight. Hope you enjoyed what you saw today. I'll be back with more tomorrow, as I always do. Until then, enjoy your evening. Have a great rest of your night. Peace, love, and kindness to you all. And I'll talk to you again soon.